Hi, this is Frankie from AA Dental Design in Marietta, California. Welcome to the LMT Lab Day Online. I will be overviewing the inLab 20. There's a couple different changes that are brand new to the software, especially from 19 to 20. You know, there's actually 4 features that I'm going to be going over. I only have about 20 minutes, so I'm going to try to just kind of go through it as best as I can and explain as best as I can. Currently, I had to do this online because of a little emergency that I have on Friday, so I wouldn't be available. But if you have any questions, all you have to do is message Michael Dombrowski or leave a message somewhere, I think, on this online viewing, and I will try to answer it as best as I can when I get back. All right. So, like I said, there's about in inLab 20, there's 4 features that for us at our laboratory, it's very important. You know, one of them would be how we import the scans now, STLs, the way to import, what we can do, how we can do it. The other add-ons that they added, of course, which is the big one, which is Digital Dentures, the module. You know, we have the ability to do individual teeth, which means that it's just a customized, you know, designing. And we also have the ability to import IPN 3D teeth, which is also part of the tooth library inside the administration. And then finally, I'm just going to kind of show how it goes over the cam. You know, they added a couple features for the ones that have the MCX5. You know, we have the ability to do a double milling process, which means that we will mill the denture base first, especially now that they're coming out with the Lucitone 199 and, of course, the Lucitone 199 Fit pucks. We have the capability of milling in a 2-part section, right? So it will take away the fat of the actual puck, let you cement the teeth. Bond the teeth with HIPAA, and then after that, you put the disc right back into the milling, and you're able to just continue milling where you left off. So it's called the 2-step milling. So those are the things that I wanted to kind of go over. So let's kind of get started on that. So if we look at our administration or the order management page, nothing really has changed. But I'm going to kind of show you what one of the big differences is, especially in the scanning phase. So if I was to add a brand new case right here, all right, you'll notice that here they added the denture mode, right? So you have the denture teeth, and you also have the individual teeth. So either of these, and I'll hit this in a little while and kind of go over how this is used. All right, but the first I would like to start off here with the scanning phase, right? When we look at the new scanning phase, the way that it works is that you're able to now import, you know, STLs, or you're able to scan, or you're able to, you know, again, think about it. You get a Sarah Connect case. Once that case arrives to your laboratory, you're able to import some files. Let's say that the doctor sends you a model, and he's like, you know, can you incorporate this into our into the scans that I originally sent you, so that you can use it as a biocopy, or, you know, whatever. But we're able to now mix and match how we import, you know, the cases. And you'll also notice that now with inLab, you know, 20, we do not have to scan a bite, especially when we're importing from an STL, right? So that means that if I'm going to be importing an STL from this section right here, so if I import an upper, you know, here's an example. If I import an upper, I can come over here and just click the upper scan. For this scan, I'm going to show you, we get a lot of digital dentures in our laboratory now when it comes to, you know, doctors scanning with the Prime Scan. And so this is one of those cases. But what I want to do is I want to incorporate, in this particular case, I want to incorporate a gingiva into the actual scans. So when we think about the bite actually shows up, you know, when the doctor actually scans the denture, right? So let's say that if I have a case that comes in from a doctor that has an upper denture, and then, as you can see right here, I just imported this. Now I can come over here, click on lower. Again, I'm not scanning something. What I'm going to do is I'm going to import the STL. Once I import the lower jaw, the bite will be now included in that. So if I wanted to, I can move forward. This is a big change from 19 to 20, because in the past, before we were able to move forward, if we wanted to incorporate other scans, we either had to turn on our scanner. Once we turned on the scanner, we would then have to take a buccal bite to be able to move forward. But as you can see, just by me importing the upper and the lower, I can move forward. But the main reason why I can move forward, again, you were able to move forward with 19, but now if I wanted to incorporate, let's say, a gingiva, in 19 we were not able to use the stitching, right? So manual stitching was not available to you unless you actually scanned a bite. So now I'm going to click on gingiva. I'm going to import. So here, I'll just click that I want to import the gingiva. Again, this was sent as a scan that was already sent to us, right? And then these were actually sent to us separately a little bit later. So we're actually incorporating two different scans, and now we're going to mix and match what we want to import and how we want to import. Well, if we ask ourselves where the bite actually is right here. It's in this two files right here, which is the upper and the lower. Now I can basically import scan bodies. I can import, the upper jaw. I can do whatever I want at this point and just kind of mix and match. If I had a third set of scans, I would also be able to import that as well. Even if I was to scan it with the X5, or if I was to scan it with a third party, I would just be able to import everything. So for this one, I'm just going to import the gingiva. Oops. Once I open that up, what my plan is to be able to have my gingiva now included into that denture. So the doctor basically scanned us a denture that it's going to have the upper and the lower. Once the bite is included, I want to now include this gingiva into that scan and be able to manually correlate it with that upper, right? As you can see right here, it has an exclamation point, which means that it is not stitched yet to any of these. Whenever you get a green check mark like that, it just means that these two are now, the bite is included, but this is not a part of the upper. What's really cool too is that we have the ability to add as many as we want. Miscellaneous upper, miscellaneous lowers. We can add as many of those as we want now. We have the ability to scan a triple tray, bite impression. We remember that from way back when. Or we can actually scan a buccal bite, or we can, and what's really cool about the buccal bite, or we can just scan the bite registration. But what's really cool about the buccal bite is that now if I wanted to import, let's say from a third party, the buccal bite, I can actually import it as an STL. That is something that is new to inLab 20. You know, we never had that ability in the past, but now we do. So that means that if you scanned it with a third party, and that third party, once it exports the bite, you can then incorporate that and import it here. Okay? Especially if you don't have it already in this file or in this file. So that's the new capabilities that we actually have now. So now we're going to be moving forward. Now what it will do is it will create all the files for you. And like I said, one of the things that's really cool is that we can add as many files as we want, right? So it doesn't matter if it's from one scan or another scan. And what's really cool is that now with 20 is we're able to now manually register, we can manually stitch all our cases, right? So it doesn't matter if you're importing, you don't need to bring in that bite or do that buccal bite like we did in 19. So let's say that we wanted to incorporate this scan and now have it become the bite or be part of this bite right here, okay? So now we'll just kind of, pick a couple places. Let's say that I want to double click here, double click here. So I want to mount this case, let's say, right? So I'll just kind of, just click a couple places. Doesn't have to be perfect, right? I mean, it does have to be perfect, but for this webinar, I don't need to sit there and start looking for the rugai and all that stuff. So once we picked the common areas, we now click the button right here for compute. And what this does is it will add let's say, our file, right, which is, again, the original scan, which was the dentures, and then the doctor then sent us a gingiva. Once they send us the gingiva, we needed to incorporate that into our scans, right? So now we incorporated that into our scan. It could also be a it could be a biocopy. It could be whatever we want it to be, right? But we have now the option of manually stitching any STLs that we bring to the table, right? So again, once we move forward, I still have the bite here, right, which is the denture, okay? And I also have the gingiva that is also included. So if I was to export this file right here by exporting, and I wanted to then import them, right, I would just call this, new bite. Oops. New bite. And then once I exported that, now that gingiva would now be included into the stitching of that upper and lower case right there. So that's an exciting new thing that they added. I mean, for us, we use this a lot, especially with all the cases that we receive in our laboratory from, Sirona Connect doctors. Again, it's just one of those things that I've been asking for a long time. So I'm very happy to see it, on inLab 20. The other things that they added, of course, which was the denture module. The denture module now allows us to use, again, individual teeth. So I'll start there. We have the ability now, once we scan our case, I'll kind of show you in the scan phase how, the different ways of scanning. Again, I do have a very short time from what I understand, so I'm trying to speak as slowly as I can, but, being Cuban and all, it's kind of hard for me. so I'm going to see if I can get through the next 3 things before my 20-minute mark is up. And if I go over, well, I mean, it is what it is. So again, with the new software, they added this module right here. Now, remember, this is not a module that you have to download. Once you have 20, it's already included. One of the biggest, at the academy here at the laboratory, one of the biggest questions that we usually get from a lot of our students that come through our academy is, do I have to download this module like you did, let's say, the model software? So if we remember, here, we would download these modules, right? So you have the model, you have the framework, and then you have the splint, and then of course you have the inLab check. Well, this is included into the inLab 20, especially in the administration page. So let's say that we were just going to do an upper and a lower denture, right? As of right now, that's what we can do is upper and lower. Hopefully soon we'll be able to only do an upper, or just a lower when it comes to dentures. So again, you would actually pick dentures right here. You click on individual teeth, and then of course you highlight your arches. As you can see on this side over here, nothing really changes. What's really cool though is that you can actually add the try-in. So if you click here, it actually lets you add try-ins as well. So that means that whatever I design and I split in 2 pieces, right, in 2 separate files, will now give me the ability to export as an STL a solid upper or a solid lower. Okay, you'll notice here you can just pick machine, Dentsply Sirona, wax this, whatever it is that you're going to be, milling it out of. Same thing over here when it's the upper denture. You can actually, which is very cool, right? That if we're going to be milling out these teeth or we're going to be printing these teeth, we can actually do this as a bridge right here. By unclicking these buttons right here, you'll notice that I can actually do the upper in 4 bridges if I want. I can make them all individual if I want to. I can do whatever I want. Or, as you can see down here, all of these become one solid bridge. Okay, so you have the options. That's why it's called individual teeth, but it's actually if you were just going to customize things, right? So in the scanning phase, as I talked about a little while ago, they did add this new feature, right, which allows us to scan a bite registration, or whatever the bite is. If it's a bite registration, I've used it where the doctor will send me 2 dentures and he wants me to duplicate it. I'll basically put the upper and the lower together for the bite, and then I'll scan it that way. So it kind of looks like this. What you'll notice here is once you scan the upper, scan the lower, and then scan the bite registration, it actually mounts it automatically here, okay, which is a great new feature that they added. You just got to make sure that when you scan it, there's those common areas. So that means that, if you have a bite block that doesn't have a wash on it, and then you have a model that has a lot of root guides and stuff like that, you might have problems stitching it together. But because we don't have that problem, if you have a wash impression, because you can kind of see all these awesome landmarks here, right? And when it comes to the bite registration, and also when it comes to the models, the software can pick that up really good. It doesn't mean that it won't be able to pick it up, but what I'm saying is that if you have a bite registration that maybe you just did a suck down on it, or whatever it is that however it is that you do your bites, if you do not have a lot of common areas, well, then sometimes the software could have problems, stitching it together and stuff. But here you can see, again, going back to importing and all that stuff, you can import the bites, you can scan it, you can do whatever you want, okay? So moving forward, the software really hasn't changed when it comes to this 3 right here, right? So, we can still edit our models. Over here where it says check occlusion, of course, we can definitely, check the occlusion, how we always have been able to. They also added right here where we can actually correct the bite. So that means that if I wanted to, I can actually correct it and move it up and down. I personally, if I can't get that stitched, the way you're looking at it right there, I kind of don't mess with it. But that's a cool feature that they added. And then, of course, when it comes to correct the bite, you can actually correct it. When I say new feature, I'm saying being able to correct it, according to the bite that you incorporated into your bite registration right here. Okay, so this set model axis again hasn't really changed. You still have the ability to move this around, check your midline, your occlusal planes, and stuff like that. But now here's where they added the denture baseline. The denture baseline is really cool because it actually does an auto drop on you, right? So it will draw that line. But if you want to alter that line, you can definitely double click, single click, double click, and then you can change that margin where that base is going to be. You can do that on the lower, or you can do it on the upper. Okay, so now we have the upper model already chosen. But again, it will drop that line. And if that model is pretty clean, you really won't have to mess too much with it. But I would have to say that sometimes the line will kind of come across here, and then you're like, oh, what happened here? So then you'll just double click, single click, and then just go all the way around. Right? Then you'll have the insertion axis, the block out. We have the ability for the software to block everything out, of course, by itself by moving this arrow. Or if you wanted to add to the block out, you can add, you can smooth, you can remove, and then of course you can have a lot of strength. You can change the maximum thickness that you want to block out, right? So if I wanted to block out these areas a little bit more over here, I can just click on that, and then I click on apply block out, and then it will block out everywhere that you want on the upper or the lower. Okay, so you have the ability also again to block out on the upper or the lower, depending on which side, which one you click on. Okay, so again, if you want to just insert the axis right here, you can move that and then apply to the direction that you can see it, right? So you can kind of see where this is. You can click there, and then that arrow will move. Another cool feature that they added in the software for the Crown and Bridge guys out there and gals, what's kind of cool is that when you have these dots and let's say you're going to put them on the model, you have this little help section. Well, if I go over it, it will just basically tell me, it will just give me the maxillary tuber center right here, right? Quadrant 2. But if I really want to know what it is, I can just click here. And then by hovering over each one, it will give me a detailed, of where those dots need to actually be. So then you can left click, you can move it. Same thing with the green one, same thing with the purple one, and then around. Again, there's the icon that you just kind of click on here, and it allows you to kind of know what those dots are. Same as if you were on the lower. You'll notice on the lower it added this blue one. And again, you'll see how I'm looking at it. If I unclick here, it won't show you that. So just make sure that if you've never done this before, just make sure that you keep help clicked. Okay. A couple other things that you can do here. If we scroll down, right, you can basically put your planes together, right, by clicking here. It will actually allow you to kind of think, okay, well, I need to move this into direction into a little bit further back, or whatever it is that you want to do. You also have the occlusal plane that you can pop out, here, and the midline and stuff like that. Okay, you can use this throughout the designing process of your digital dentures. Okay, so let me remove all of these, so that way I can just kind of keep going forward. Of course, this section, it's all the same. We have the ability to look at our parameters on the denture. We can basically change up some things. You'll notice now that when you're in the denture module, your minimal thickness for your bases can go all the way up to 5,000. So that means that, if you remember on 19, we were really only able to go about to 2,000. So now we're able to go as thick as we want. But usually the default is at 2,500. Okay, so you have your pocket spacer. You have everything here to be able to change in your parameter settings. You can also customize it. Everybody kind of knows that, even from the other past softwares. But we can customize it depending on what we want and how things are fitting, whether you're printing or you're milling. We just bought the carbon, so now we're doing a little bit of both. We do about 60 digital dentures a month now, and so we're actually printing a lot of them. And like I said, we still mill depending on the features that we want to use, which I'll talk about it in a little bit when it comes to the CAM software. Okay, so here we have the ability to adjust the teeth, right? So we have the ability to use biogeneric. Okay, so we can also move the biogeneric variation tool, so we can actually move our teeth here if we wanted to, right? Same thing here. If we wanted to change the tooth, we have the ability to change whatever tooth we want. So if we wanted to have 3 bicuspids, we could. If we wanted to have 4 molars, we could. We can do whatever we want by changing the tooth right here. Okay. As we move on for the positioning tool, okay. Another feature that's pretty cool is that now, let's say that if our arch is too big, we can actually remove the back molars at this stage right here, just by clicking here and then remove the molars. And so now you don't have to go all the way back to administration. You can just do it from right here. Okay. While you're positioning your teeth, of course, you can bring out your bite registration. So once we set up our teeth where we want them to be, we can see where that midline is and do all that cool stuff, right? So if this was a patient's existing denture, we would be able to just move them according to that as well. So you have the ability to do that. And then lastly, of course, if we wanted to open up the jaw, we're able to open up the jaw. Okay. So once we propose the case, it's broken up into a couple different pieces, right? So you'll notice now that here it says edit element. So now, once the teeth are in place, okay, we can move these individually if we wanted to. We can group them and then move them. We can do whatever we want because the gingiva hasn't been set up yet. But once we move the teeth, and this is very familiar for many of you that have already used the inLab software for a long time, this has been exactly the same ever since they created BioJaw. So then we'll go to the next step, which is edit the digital or the gingiva. So at this place, at this position right here, we can actually smooth, add. We can move our gingiva, right? So if I wanted to just change this up and maybe move my gingiva down, I can definitely do that. You'll notice that you have to remember these are customized teeth. Okay, so if I want to move the gingiva, we can definitely move it up and down on this section right here. Okay, you can recalculate if you don't like the way it looks. You can definitely do whatever you want at this stage. Then over here, we'll edit the denture connector. So that means that what it's going to do now is going to connect all the teeth. Remember in the administration page, what I had said was that we were going to have this as a bridge. So you'll notice that these have connectors, these don't. Again, if these were all individual teeth, you would not see any connectors here. On the bottom, it's basically a full arch. So if you want to mill out that whole arch, you definitely can. So then we'll go to the next step, which is the finalize of the denture. Okay. So that means that once we get here, you'll notice that now it's separated. So that becomes down here, you'll notice 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 through 8, 9 through 11, 12 through 15. And if I look at number 18 through 31, then that's basically the whole entire arch. Okay, so now that it's separated, what's really cool is that when you get to the very end, we have a couple different options. Option number 1. I'm talking it faster than what the computer can move. So right here, you'll have this option, right? So option number 1 is that we can export this as an STL, of course. We can export it to CAM. You know, we can do whatever we want. If we want to mill this, we want to print this, you know, you have the options now. So here, okay, you also have the option of milling or printing this. So if we were going to mill this, you'll notice right here, export to CAM, boom, it goes to the CAM software. If we export to as an STL, of course, then we would export this to be printed. But for now, that way I can show you on the CAM, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this particular one right here, and I am going to export this into CAM so I can show you what we do now in CAM. So right here, we'll click on export to inLab CAM. I'll say no because the only thing I want to export is the actual denture. Okay, so here with the try-in, we have an upper and a lower. Remember earlier when I clicked on administration, it gave us the ability to say we want to send a try-in. So what we do here at our laboratory is that we will then print this out. So that means that I'm going to be sending this to the doctor so that he can try this in the mouth. You'll notice here, if you want to, you can mill this, right? Or you can just export as an STL for those that have a printer. Okay, so that's basically what we call the individual teeth, which it's customized. They call it individual. I like to call it the custom teeth, right? So let me close out really quick here. Let me open up the IPN teeth so I can kind of show you that super quick, and then I'll go into the CAM and show you some of the cool things that we can do now in the CAM software. So with the IPN, right? So let me open this up really quick. I'll kind of show you how you do it. And again, you know, when it comes to the inLab 20, you know, it's very similar to the inLab 19 when it comes to a lot of the other features. But when it comes to digital dentures, it's a brand new feature that they added. And to be honest with you, it gives us, you know, the ability to grow, the ability to, you know, in my laboratory by itself, you know, one of the things that we launched was digital dentures. Again, you know, my laboratory only accepts digital scans, but for us to be able to add, you know, digital dentures to our laboratory was huge. You know, it's not that I'm only a crown and bridge guy, but in the digital workflow that we had been working under for a very long time, we would only accept, you know, crown and bridge and stuff. So at DS World, we launched digital dentures about a year ago, right before, you know, the pandemic and all that good stuff that we've been going through, all the craziness of 2020. But at the end, we were able to add this, and we've been getting a lot of, you know, scans with the Prime Scan. You know, again, we also have Prime Scans that we purchase and have placed into doctors' offices as well, depending on how many dentures and how much stuff they do, especially with all on fours and all that stuff. All right, so now you'll notice here that we can click on denture teeth, right? So if I click on upper and lower, you'll notice that now there is no connection, because remember, we're purchasing these teeth, but we can still have a try-in. So that means that it will virtually seat those teeth so that if you need to send off to the doctor a try-in, you can definitely set that off. Right here where it says Dentsply Sirona, right? We click on where it says IPN Portrait, you know, inspired. All right. So then we have the option of choosing. So for this one right here, you have many different options. As you can see, when you go over these teeth, right, you have the ability to sort of also see the measurements. I have a list. You can actually probably call your rep, and they'll give you a list of all the different teeth and the sizes and stuff. So that way, when you're actually designing this, you can actually measure where your midline is and all the measurements and stuff, and then choose whichever you want in the beginning. But there's a cool feature that they added that allows us to change these sets of teeth inside the software instead of having to go all the way back to administration, right? So we have the ability to do just choose whatever we want here. Once we click on the upper, right, it will give us the lowers that actually go with the upper. Okay, you'll notice over here that you'll have the posteriors. Again, because we chose these, we'll also have an option here. Okay, but we can actually pick the posterior tooth shape, which is 33%, 33. Right now, 10 by 10 or 33 by 10. Okay, so on this section right here, we'll also have the ability to pick larger teeth, smaller or medium. Okay, so once you have everything chosen, all right, I'm going to skip this part right here because I already showed you that. So I'm going to go all the way to where it says design. And this is where, again, things are a little bit different. Not so much in the parameter stage, but you'll notice that you cannot do anything with the teeth. Because remember, those teeth, they're actually purchased. So all we're really doing is designing a base around the teeth that we chose, right? So the same thing, adjust morphology. If we wanted to adjust the morphology, we really don't have much to change, except let's say that for some reason we get to this section right here and I click on, let me get rid of this and bring this out. And I'm like, oh man, the teeth that I chose, they're a little too small, right? So let's just say that I'm like, okay, I need to change that out, right? So I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to come over here. Okay, oops, not go there. I'm going to go here. Now I have the ability to change out the teeth if I wanted to, right? So that means that I want to just use a different set of teeth. Well, then I can choose it here. Instead of having to go all the way back to administration, I can just do it here. Same thing with the lowers, right? Same thing with this. I can choose my teeth. So that's basically what we have when it comes to changing the morphology of it. Again, we'll still have that same feature that if all of a sudden I think that those are too many teeth, I can actually delete not in this stage, I'm sorry. I can add another tooth here, or because we can't delete the molars here, but we can add 3 bicuspids or whatever we want. Okay, but then when we go into positioning, we still have the ability here. All right, we have the ability here to add and remove those posterior back molars if we don't have enough space there. So we have the ability to remove it here or just continue and design here. So again, same process, right? Let me remove this so you guys can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so now that we have set the teeth, same process. The teeth are already there. You'll notice that we cannot edit these teeth. The teeth, we have to edit it on this stage, on the positioning stage. These teeth cannot cross over each other because remember, we're purchasing these. So that means that we have to, for them to just drop right in, we have to make sure that they actually fit in that position. They cannot be, contacts can't be crossing over, nothing like that. Okay, so then we'll click on the next, which is the denture base. We have the ability now to, again, do the same thing. I can move the denture base. I can smooth it. I can do whatever I want. Okay. Then we'll go to the last stage, which is finalize. When you're using IPN teeth and you click on finalize, what it actually does is it actually sort of says, okay, this is the only thing that you're going to be printing because the teeth you are actually buying. You're purchasing them, right? So that means that when I move forward, you'll notice on the export stage right here, you really won't be able to touch those teeth. The only thing that you have here is your denture teeth. Almost done. We're so close. All right. So now we just have this base, but as you can see, we can't click on any of these teeth, right? So I'm going to export this one to Cam as well, so that way I can show you one last thing before I let everybody go. I'm sure I'm over my time, but I'm trying my best. So here, we'll click on the try-in as well. What's cool about being able to have this try it in into the patient's mouth is that the teeth that we chose will now give us it's still exporting. All right, good, thank you. I'm doing this all live right now. Well, live in my own place, right? But not live for you guys. And I'm sorry I wasn't able to make it, but I have to take care of a couple things that I need to on Friday. All right, so here you can see that I can actually print an STL of the denture with the teeth that you have chosen. So it virtually seats those teeth so that you can send it off. If the doctor likes it, then you're just going to process and finish. Okay, so these are the two options that we have now when it comes to digital dentures. Okay, one of the things that I wanted to show you last is when it comes into the cam section here. All right. When we're going to be placing, these dentures now in the cam section, we definitely want to call them digital dentures. Reason being is because the milling process now is a little, the algorithms for the milling process is actually a little bit faster than it was before. So, again, I'm not going to sit here and say that you can mill out a denture in an hour, but you can basically mill it out a lot faster depending on the algorithms that you use. So if I was to take this denture right here, I'm going to add it. I'm going to go to the select. No, we want to click no on that, because if I was to click yes, it would take me all the way to the end and it would be ready to mill. Okay, so if we're going to add a blank, you'll notice that here you'll be able to use Dentsply Sirona. You have two options: Lucitone 199 or the Lucitone Digital Fit. Okay, so it's up to you, whichever you have. Then you have the ability right here. They come in 20, 25s, 30, and 35s. Most of the time in my laboratory, we just order 30 and 35s because we know that those angles, they're not going to be sometimes we have to, tilt them to be able to catch all those areas that we would probably catch if we were printing it. But because we're milling it, some of those areas, they just don't, the burrs can't reach. So then you're going to have to adjust it after you mill. So there's a lot of good stuff happening when it comes to printing. But there's the downfalls of printing, and then there's the downfalls of milling. One of the downfalls of printing, let's say, is that if you're using IPN teeth and you want to mill, let's say, those IPNs, you want to print, and then when you put those IPNs in, you manually have to, if they're protruding through, you're going to manually have to remove that after you bonded the two pieces together. But when it comes to milling, this is the feature that I wanted to show you, is that once we go over here and we accept this and we double arrow forward, almost there, almost there, almost there. It's kind of interesting trying to talk to a computer when you know that nobody's really listening. All right. So what you'll notice here is that now you have the ability right here. Okay. It will basically already have almost all your axis is already preset for you, right? So if we look at the denture, once it sits in here, 3D mode, we can move it around. But here where it says set the axes, we have the ability to set all our axes. As you can see, there's a lot of different ones. This is important too in the milling process when it comes to all on fours. A lot of people ask me that question. How come on all on fours I can't get that detail? But remember, the more axes we move, the longer the mill time, right? So if we want to mill something that looks really good, of course, we can move each individual axis here. So let's say that if the burr can't reach this, well, then I'm going to basically get a little bit closer here so you guys can see that. I can just move this axis down here, right? Why can't I grab that? Oh, there we go. So I can just move that axis, and now it's going to probably give me a better mill on that area that it wasn't able to reach. But when you get that red, it means that you might have gone a little too far. Okay, so just don't go over, because even though it will let you mill, sometimes you might get an error or a data error because you're trying to do something. And you'll notice that, especially right here where it says status, you'll have like a little check mark, or it will be red like you saw a little while ago. Okay, so once you have that, then of course you'll move forward. Like I said, I'm doing this real time, so we have to wait for the software. All right, so here, okay, once we put all our sprues where we want them to be, you see those areas up here? That means that it's going to try to move, so that it can reach these areas over here. So you can tell, like I said, the more axes we move, sometimes the longer it takes. Okay, so now we'll double arrow forward once we have the sprues already set. I always, in my laboratory, I tell my techs, especially in the milling department, I always tell everybody, make sure that you click this button right here where it says production simulation, which will then allow us to, and I hope I didn't freeze up my computer. Oh, there we go. It will basically let us see what this milling process or production simulation is going to look like. So if we wanted to, we can actually change this to low or to very high, depending on what the milling, what this milling looks like. Because if I see green all the way around and I'm only at high, I might still, change it to low, which will reduce my milling time, but and by clicking fast, but it will still give me a quality mill. And so what you'll notice as soon as this is done right here, what you'll notice is that it will turn green with maybe some yellows or some red or, whatever colors, right? So here, remember earlier when I said it would do a two-step milling, well, this is basically where it's at. So if I wanted to, oh, there it goes to green. So that means that those red areas, the burrs might not be able to get it, but you can see on the inside of that denture, the only part where it might have some issues is this area right over here in the corner, right where that yellow is. But for the most part, it's going to give me a really good milled out denture, and most likely all those teeth that I buy, they're just going to fit like a glove. We've done this enough to know that milling and printing, we're getting those teeth to fit just beautifully most of the time. So here, right here where it says pocket only, you can actually click on that, and it will give you the ability to just mill it out, and it will not reduce, as you see here, the clearing of all of this, right? So if you wanted to just mill, again, whatever you choose here, it's actually going to take a little bit longer depending on what you choose. So this right here, if you click on here, it actually removes all this area out, so it gives you room to be able to set those teeth, and then you're going to put it back, and then it's going to do the two-step milling, right? So let me remove this part right here, because the only option that we had there was to mill out in low. So let's say that I'm like, I don't like all that red, and now I want to change it to very high. And if it doesn't change much, I'll just keep it on low, go to fast, and you'll see that it's still going to give you a really good mill, and it will just eat up it will actually go a little bit faster. Okay. So basically, I have no idea where I'm at when it comes to the time. I know for a fact I went over 30 minutes. Again, I wish I could be live. I think LMT, has probably put together a very, very good show for you guys. And I just want to thank Dentsply Sirona and LMT for allowing me to be a part of this, even though I had a little family emergency that I need to take care of. But thank you very much, everybody. If you have any questions, please ask, and I will try to answer them as best as I can. So thank you, and have a good weekend.